Imagine waking up in a small, windowless trailer. Chains are wrapped around your wrists and ankles. A strange voice begins to play from a cassette tape. A man calmly explaining how he will torture you and how escape is impossible. This isn't the opening scene of a horror movie. This was real life. And the man behind it was known as the Toy Box Killer. Today, we're diving into one of the darkest and most disturbing cases in American criminal history. A man who built his own torture chamber, filled with surgical tools, restraints, and devices so twisted that even seasoned FBI agents struggled to process what they saw. His name was David Parker Ray, and authorities believe he had more than 60 victims. Yet, very few people outside the true crime world even know his name. David Parker Ray was born in 1939 in New Mexico. Outwardly, he seemed ordinary, a mechanic, a man who lived a quiet life in a small desert town. But behind closed doors, he harbored fantasies so dark that they eventually spilled into reality. From a young age, Ray was fascinated with sadomasochistic pornography and violent fantasies. As he grew older, these obsessions turned into something far more sinister. In the 1990s, Ray transformed a simple trailer near Elephant Butte Lake, New Mexico, into what he chillingly called his toy box. But this was no ordinary trailer. Inside, investigators later found chains, pulleys, surgical instruments, whips, saws, and terrifyingly detailed diagrams of human anatomy. Every wall was covered with tools designed to inflict pain. There was even a gynecologist's chair with stirrups in the center of the room. And to make it worse, Ray had recorded an audio tape. This tape was played for each of his victims when they first regained consciousness. In calm, almost instructional tones, Ray explained what he was going to do to them and why there was no escape. Imagine waking up to that voice. David Parker Ray didn't act alone. His girlfriend, Cindy Hendy, and sometimes even his daughter, reportedly helped him lure victims. Many were women from vulnerable backgrounds, sex workers or runaways, who could vanish without immediate alarm. Ray would drug them, imprison them in his toy box, and subject them to days of unimaginable torture before either releasing them, sometimes after erasing their memories with drugs, or, as investigators believe, killing them and disposing of their bodies in the New Mexico desert. What's terrifying is that very few bodies were ever found. To this day, most of his suspected victims remain missing. The case only came to light in March 1999, when one victim, Cynthia Vigil, managed to escape. After 3 days of captivity, she waited for the right moment, grabbed a set of keys when Hendy left the room, and fled, completely naked, with a metal collar chained around her neck. She ran down the street, desperate for help, until she found a mobile home and managed to call the police. Her story shocked investigators, but when they entered Ray's trailer, the horror truly unfolded. Inside the toy box, police discovered not just torture devices, but also recorded tapes and detailed journals. These writings hinted at decades of abductions. Ray had kept notes describing victims, what he did to them, and in some cases, how he disposed of their remains. One of the most chilling discoveries was the audio tape itself. When FBI agents listened to it, many couldn't sit through the entire thing. It was that disturbing. Despite all the evidence, Ray was only convicted of kidnapping and torture, not murder, because prosecutors couldn't find bodies to confirm the deaths. 2001, David Parker Ray was sentenced to over 200 years in prison. His accomplice, Cindy Hendy, also received decades behind bars. But the story doesn't end there. Just 3 years later, in 2002, Ray died of a heart attack while in prison, taking many of his secrets to the grave. To this day, investigators believe dozens of women were murdered by Ray, but the exact number will never be known. The Toy Box Killer's case is one of the most haunting examples of how evil can hide in plain sight. A seemingly quiet mechanic in a small town, building his own torture chamber while the world carried on, unaware. It makes you wonder how many other monsters like David Parker Ray are out there, living normal lives on the surface, while hiding something far darker behind closed doors.